Hi there, this is Charlie Hoyos and this is Magnates de Ladrillo. But today, because we are speaking in English, this is Brick Tycoons. And today we are having a very special guest. He is Laurent BERNUT, right? I guess I pronounce more or less okay, no? And then he has been here in Japan for the last 28 years. Crazy, amazing. And then he was born in New Zealand. He grew up, he was raised in New Caledonia, nationality French and Kiwi, right? And then for the last 20 years, he has been working in the stock market, last 10 years, real estate, and he has almost 100 houses. So today we are going to talk about real estate. Laurent,
mucho gusto.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So then, tell us, why real estate? Why so attractive for you? 100 houses, man.
Yeah. I never expected to have that many. Why real estate? Real estate is good because it's predictable cash flow. So month in, month out, it comes in. Second thing is money works for me.
Yeah.
You know, we work so hard for the money, and real estate is the other way around. If you do it well, money works for you. So you told me in Spanish that actually I'm making more than 1,000 yen, 3,000 yen per hour of sleep. Yeah, baby.
It's pretty cool, right?
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And that is pretty good example. You are making, let's say in Japanese yen, 1 million yen every month. You know, every single day you are making 24 hours, 33,333,33. No, 8 hours of those 24 hours you are sleeping. So in your sleep you are making 11,000 yen.
I want to sleep
every
more.
Yeah. So every day in the morning when you wake up, you are richer.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's amazing.
Oh, tonight I'm going to sleep so well. I got a great
Right?
sleep tonight.
You're going to sleep very good, but when you are waking up, you will even feel better.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Wow, thank you.
Now, it's a nice way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
That's why actually in my book, this is what I say. How to make money, you know, while sleeping or going on holidays. Because also when you are going on holidays, you're making money.
Yeah, of course.
Somebody's paying the food you are eating,
Absolutely.
or the tours you are getting, or the hotel you are staying at.
By the way, keep going. Very grateful.
And the question is, because you have almost 100 houses in Japan, right? Specifically in Sapporo. The question is, why Japan? Because let me tell you some some statistics, some data that is real. No, Japan today, 2023, we have 126, 127 million people, no, inhabitants. In the next 20 years, 30 million people will be gone.
Yeah.
So the question is, real estate is about supply and demand.
That's
If there is so much supply, then what is happening? The prices go down.
Right.
So if 20 million, 25 million people, they will go, you know, they will live this, not this country, this life. Why Japan? Because the demand will be gone. Why no other country, emerging country?
That's a real problem. I mean, real estate in Cambodia is easy because it's a growing country. Saudi Arabia growing and so on and so forth. And Japan is a shrinking country.
Yeah.
So real estate and demographics, yes, sure. There'll be a massive supply of, there is already a massive supply of empty houses, empty apartments. But the stuff that's coming online is very poorly maintained. So they call them Akiya. I know because I bought one and I'm looking into other ones. And they're very poorly maintained. So, okay, they give it to you for like $10. But then when you have to put $200,000 to repair it, yeah, thanks. You want to do it again? No, thanks.
It's not nice. It's not a nice buy. Yeah.
And so that's on the supply side. On the demand side, there's more concentration. People come to live to Tokyo, and it's not sustainable. And out of all the prefectures that grew, Sapporo in Hokkaido is growing.
Yeah.
Fukuoka is growing. So you have pockets that grow. But if you go to Okayama, shrinking. You go to Yamanashi, shrinking. You go to Ibaraki, shrinking. So there are pockets where it grows. And as people age, they also want to they want to leave they want to be close to a hospital. They want to be close to their care facility.
Yeah.
They want to have convenience.
I mean, that's Japan actually is the number one. Everything's super convenient in Japan, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
Transportation super convenient. You have convenience stores, right? You have, how many there in Japan? I think 20-something thousand or 10,000.
I'm going to pay my taxes at the convenience store and I'm going to buy a Coca-Cola. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's everything very convenient, right? Yeah, wonderful. I mean, of course, in these other emerging countries, like we are talking about Cambodia, Thailand, or you go Nigeria in Africa, no, these countries, they are not that convenient. But because of that, and because of the inherent risk you have, of course, you have better. I mean, at the end, is this binomial we have, right?
Yeah, there's a trade-off. Like for instance, a friend of mine is doing something in Tanzania, and he said that the interest rate that the bank charges in Tanzanian shillings, 20%. The rate that they charge in US dollar, 12%. Like,
you need to make more than that, right? You want to make some money.
Exactly. So you need to make more than that. There's a risk. Like everything's a trade-off. Whereas in Japan, it's like less than 1%, and it's stable.
Japan is very stable, yeah.
And also for what we do, there's a real risk. Like the population is shrinking. So what I believe we must do is we give exceptionally good product. So we do the maintenance on our buildings. It's pristine. I know because we're doing it at the moment. It's pristine. Like there's internet. So the price per square meter is slightly below the market, and we give internet and we give other services. So like
more premium, no, than average.
Exactly. So the customers are like, yeah, sure, of course.
But let me tell you quickly my opinion about Japanese market. My experience says Japan is kind of like a cow. You can squeeze, for few more years, until the point that you feel already demographics is attacking your business, your real estate business. Then you just sell it, because even though you're offering a very good product, if you have a lot of supply, you have your 100 units, even if it's the best service ever, if there is no people, you know what I mean? At the end, you need to lower your price until it's in the market. And even still, you know what I mean? So there will be a lot of war. I guess it will be a little bit like shark war,
Yes, that's probably true. There's probably some to it. But if you look at, I compare when I look at what the market does, I see that other players are they don't maintain as well.
Okay.
So there's still a possibility to make a market there.
I understand too.
Yeah. So you look at the supply demand and so on, and it's flexible. And when I realized, like, wait a minute, because at the moment, for the very first time in forever, in 30 years, we've raised the rent.
Okay.
When I got into real estate 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 11 years ago, people were saying like, hey, you got to lower the rent after 5 years, you got to lower the rent after 10 years, you got to lower the rent after 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, we raise the rent on our older buildings. Like, I love inflation.
Yeah.
Please give me inflation more.
Yeah, I got it. I mean, because at the end, even you get the money, but imagine, in Japan, you are saying, I want inflation, so you can also increase, right? You can also increase the rent. But if you are making the money, you are making money here in Japan, and later you go another country, which is the real economy, there is inflation, go now to Europe, go now to US, there is inflation, then the money you make here is always less and less, you know what I mean? You can buy less stuff in Europe, in the US. So it's good to make the money to stay in Japan.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
I live in Japan, so yeah,
exactly.
It's great.
Okay.
But at the same time, Japan is a country where everything needs to be imported.
Yeah.
So they will import inflation.
Yeah.
If there's inflation everywhere, Japan is an island.
Yeah, very good point, yeah.
But you import stuff that costs more, it's going to cost more. And this is what we see. So the inflation is not, and it's good when the business model is about apalancamiento, is about leverage, because the debt doesn't change. But there's inflation, so we can increase the rent. Unfortunately, the rent increases more than the cost of the service of the debt. So, as countries do that, central banks, they have the same business model. Whenever there's a big crisis, they flood the market with money, and then they inflate their way out. So inflation is the perfect business model for real estate.
For real estate, yeah, and for the governments, right? And for
governments do that. You do what works with them. You do it on your level. It's gonna work.
But at the end, somebody will pay for that. You know who's going to pay for all of that? The tenant who's paying for your house, right? At the end.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But this is the game. This is the money game, and you know about that, right? You also have your course about that. Okay.
We treat our tenants with utmost respect.
Exactly.
So they're happy. I mean, our occupation is 96%. Like when the banks see that, like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know. But
I just do it.
exactly.
You know?
Like we have a very good service. It's cheaper than the market with better service and more square foot. So yeah, my belief is rather than charge a little more, like, you know, you can always squeeze the tenant a little more money, but then they're not happy, they're not loyal, they don't treat the property well, they're not going to respect. Whereas if you treat them decently, people treat you back decently. That's it.
Yes. And so far you have 7 buildings, right?
Yes.
And with that you are making almost up to 100 units, no? Up to 100 units. 96, no? 97.
96, yeah, 96.
Almost. We are going to reach 100 very soon, no?
Yeah.
Just if you want. So the question is, how do you come to your mind, Laurent, buying buildings? Why not just single houses? No, buildings.
Okay, so that's a very good question. If you look at the price of a building and the price of a house, I mean, a building is probably between half the price or 30% of the cost. No, a house is about 30% of the cost of a building, right? 30 to 40%. But it's a binary. There's one tenant or there's no tenant. And the cash flow is not as good. So doing small units like small studios is very economical. And I got the idea from a colleague of mine. So let's go back in history and how I started into real estate.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got married on November 11th, 2011. And the day after that, I had a kite surfing accident and I nearly died. I broke 3 ribs and I was in the ICU. And all my friends are like, oh yeah, it's between life and death. Oh yeah, of course he is. Like nobody, guys feel sorry, come on. Of course he is. He does one of his stupid stuff. But then I realized if I want to have a family, I need to have cash flow.
Yeah.
And I
Cash
was
flow
working,
is king, right?
Exactly. Cash is king. And I was working on the stock market. If I was working for any regular hedge fund, like, get out. Like, don't worry, we'll mail all your stuff. You have a carton box, we'll mail it to you. Goodbye. So I thought I need to have stability. And one of my colleagues was doing real estate in Hokkaido. And he was buying buildings. And to me, buying buildings, like, what? Why don't you do it with one apartment? He said, banks don't lend for one apartment. Banks lend for one building. So we did the first building. It took me about 8 months. And we got the first building after Fukushima. 3 months after Fukushima earthquake. Even the banks were like, what's wrong with you? I'm glad you asked this question. How much time you have? No, okay, let's go back to financing. And so we did the first building and I realized for banks it's easy because there's the land, there's the building, they can repackage, sell it out. So it mitigates the risk. For me, it's easy because one tenant walks in, one tenant walks out. Okay.
Turnover, yeah.
Just turn over. But if I have a luxury apartment, if I have a house, one tenant, it's 0 or 1. And the tenant has all the negotiating power.
You're kind of diversifying within the same building, right? Exactly. This is what you mean. Exactly. Like no one unit, only one house, because this is kind of binary, 0, 1, or 0 cash flow or full cash flow.
Exactly.
And with the whole building, you can have this 50% or 95% no occupancy.
So it's easier to manage.
But how do you find these opportunities? How do you find like a building opportunity in Japan?
Okay. So it was thanks to my colleague introduced me, and then we tried and tried every day, like looking at the internet. Because in Japan you can go on Sumo, there are several websites. You can be on newsletters like Nomura, Fudosan, and it's a question of plowing through. Rejection.
So you're applying for buildings through the website, through Sumo and these ones, no?
Yeah, and then finally we found one. We went to the bank said, okay, sure, we're going to lend you 95%, you put 5% down, plus taxes, plus this, plus that. So it ended up being a big investment at that time. There was something in Tokyo, and they were building a new train line, the Fukutoshin line. So now the stuff, at that point, it looked like, even the bankers like, you're crazy. I'm like, yeah, tell me something I don't know. Where's the news here? But then it turned out to be the best investment of my lifetime, by far.
But it was building, no?
It was a parking lot.
A parking lot?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then the developer, the developer was saying this is a parking lot. We're going to build a building,
Okay.
5 stories, so we don't need a elevator, and that's it. And then we took it out.
How much did you pay for it? How much did you?
It cost.
sell
It was a mid-sized project. It cost $1.5 million,
Okay.
and I had to put about 200 all in. I had to put about 250
Okay.
as a yield of 8.5 in Tokyo. Now it's up to 9 plus because we raised the rent. We continue to raise the rent.
So you didn't sell it, you just rent it, you still keep it, no?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
this one
okay.
I'm never gonna
You
sell
will
this
never-
one. No.
Okay.
And the it was 1.5. Now the median yield in Tokyo is 4.5.
Okay.
A little less actually.
Yeah.
So now we're above 9, something 8.5. We've more than doubled our money, plus the cash flow, plus this, plus that. Like, thank you.
Yeah, pretty good. Because actually I heard you saying something like you need to buy somewhere else, not in Tokyo, no? And you put it to work for you, and then later you rent in Tokyo to live,
Correct.
right? Because at the end, what are you doing with this? Of course, if you buy a house in 10 million, you can rent it maybe 100,000 yen, you make 10%. But you buy a house in Wanoku, you're not going to rent it, no, in 10 or 100 times more. It's just 3 times more, maybe.
You see, it's the same in Paris, for instance.
It's everybody, yeah.
In Paris, in Barcelona, in Madrid, in all those big cities. New York, same story. London, same story. The cost is very high, and the rent is not going to be 10 times higher.
Exactly.
So for the same cost that you can have in Hokkaido, we have a blended yield of 8.4, and in Tokyo, we would have a blended yield of less than 3.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So we buy a property where the market has a very high yield, and we rent personally to live.
Exactly. So you don't buy your own house, you don't get a mortgage for 30 years to be paying.
Buying a house for yourself is not an asset. It's a liability. It's a problem.
It's like a chain, right, for
Exactly.
your life, because it does not produce anything, right?
And when the bank sees that, they think, oh, this is not your asset. This is our asset. You're not a solution to us. You're a problem.
Yeah.
So, and what happens is a lot of people, they buy a house and they want to buy a little bigger because they think, but then every month there's a mortgage that comes in. So let's say, but I want to take risk. I want to start my company. No, you have a mortgage, my man.
You have a mortgage.
You have a mortgage.
Nevertheless, when you rent, you don't need to say to the bank, I'm paying the rent. It doesn't count as even if you pay less or even you pay more in the rent, it doesn't count, right, as a debt, because it's not a debt.
It's an asset, and the way they look at us, this is why we could scale so much. We scale very rapidly, and originally we could borrow 95%, and then the second time we came in 2014, the bank said, no, we're not going to lend you 95%. Oh, we're going to lend you 108%. What? You're going to do what? Give me one more.
So it was everything plus all the expenses, no?
Yes. So we had to cough up only the registration tax because it cannot be waived, but they coughed up the principal plus the sales tax.
Okay.
But hey, they charge you for that.
Yeah.
So, but all the taxes for the registration tax they can't. All the administrative tax they can't. So it's fine. Don't worry about it. Take care of it. So yeah.
Okay, pretty
and then
good.
we could scale.
Okay. And one question, Laurent, because I'm sure all the audience, they want to understand more about this. Think about one of the properties you have in Sapporo, those buildings. Let us know quickly how many houses are in there, how much cash flow you are making, what was the payment you made, and so on.
All right, let's go. So I brought it here.
Okay.
So this is
This is an Excel file. Okay.
This is Google Sheet, and everything. All my properties is on it. And you can see that last year we clocked about 82 million yen.
82 million yen, which is something like $600,000 or 600, a bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more. And then our cash flow was almost 32 million yen.
32 million yen, which is over 200,000 euros.
After paying all the taxes, amortization, debt, blah, 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 everything, free cash flow. net.
Pretty good. So
And-
it's more than 40%, of
Yes.
the turnover.
Yes.
Not too bad, eh? So you sleep very good, you said, no?
I'm going to sleep better tonight. Thank you very much. Thanks to you. And our occupancy rate is 95%.
95%. Okay, so there are just, I mean, this is because people after a few years, but maybe you can say about how long normally the average tenant stays.
Okay.
In your
So
apartment.
I was about to come there. So our average unit, for instance, is about 15 studios. 15 is one LDK, we call them.
Okay, so one building, 15 studios there.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
about the average. This
Okay.
is the average. So it's not big buildings. It's not like towers. It's 15. So it's actually somewhere between 12 and 15. Because if we don't have an elevator, it's somewhere between 12 and 15. 15 would mean that we have 3 to 4 apartments per floor.
Better no elevator, by the way.
No elevator. Elevator is a cost. So we only have elevators in one of our buildings.
Okay.
And it's because it's a family unit. So for family units, you need elevators because like mommy is pushing the baby car. She's not gonna pushing up the stairs. It's not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So the average duration of tenant, because we have this is really a deliberate policy. The average duration is about 3 years. What happens is because it's the demographics of the people we have.
Yeah.
The average duration between, I would say, 3.8 years. And it's high, it's on the high end. Normally it's lower than that because the demographics we have, because we do one LDK of relatively good quality, we attract young single women, mostly.
Okay.
So our buildings is loaded with pretty Japanese women.
Only. So there is kind of a little bit, let's call it discrimination against guys. Like you don't take guys if they want to be living
anybody. No. It's just that it.
Coincidence.
It's we looked at it like another lady, another lady, another lady, and I don't do.
Okay. I was thinking your recruitment strategy for real estate was I only put in this building only women. I was thinking like that.
No,
It was just coincidence.
No, I never thought of it this way. No, of course not.
Like girl friendly, you know what I mean? So like when they say foreigner friendly, only for foreigners. You know?
That's a good thing. We don't do that. If we did foreigner friendly, we could charge more.
Yeah, of course.
I know people who do that, who do like a foreigner friendly, but we have also another style of demographics. Is we have old male retiree divorcee.
Okay.
Because in Japan there's this thing called grey divorce, where guys worked all his life, and then when they reach 60 years old, mommy divorces daddy, she keeps the house and she kicks him out. So guys like, damn.
This is pretty popular in Japan actually, eh?
Yeah, it's very popular, unfortunately. So guys like, damn, well, I need to find a place. And my business partner, she said like, hey, but they smoke and all this. Yeah, but you know what? This tenant, this is his last apartment. He's never going to move.
Yeah.
We're having for the next 20 years. So we have, this is actually a growing demographics. So we have young single ladies, professional single ladies, and also they're happy with what we offer. So and one big difference between real estate in Japan and real estate in Europe or in the US is like people take care of their apartments. This is where they live. So it's clean, like it's Japanese. Like when people move out, like, okay, we come for the cleaning. All right, we came for the cleaning.
But still in Japan is charged, you know, because go to Spain and say to the tenant, you need to pay 250 euros. No, here normally it's 33,000 yen, right? The cleaning fee. So you don't pay when you get in, you pay always when you get out, no?
Exactly.
So basically at the end somebody is paying, no?
But people really take care, like they're not gonna destroy the property because this is where they live.
And how about what is the ratio, you know, of both? Basically like default payments, like what is the percentage of people they don't pay for the last 10 years, you know, you have, and also I don't know how to call it, but like people who destroy the house. What is the rate?
I mean, destroy is like there's no normal wear and tear. I know it because normal wear and tear, we have to pay for it. When they destroy, we charge them. So when they leave, the management company walks in. Okay, there's like for instance, we had a case last month. Guy's been there for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, of course we take care of everything because the guy's been there and they didn't destroy the toilet, they didn't destroy the kitchen, so we need to change stuff. But this is normal wear.
Yeah, sun scratch on the floor. Of course, they need to paint again. Put again this paper. Yeah.
So we have so the ratio of how much we have to pay versus how much they have to pay is always we have to pay more.
Okay.
So that means that people take care of the property, which is a good news. And always the management company asks, would you like to change the wallpaper because the person has not stayed more than 5 years? Always.
Yeah.
Always. Clean maintenance of our property. I want every apartment to be a place where I could live.
Yeah. That's good. Because normally kind of the investor mind is like, don't make, or when you invest and when you rent it out, it's like not a place that you could live in, but like somebody else could live in. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's appropriate, it's clean, it's okay, but not where you are going to live. But I understand your point, like it's clean enough.
At the end of the day, if let's say for instance to change the wallpaper, it costs about per unit to restore a unit, it costs about 100,000 yen, which is about what, $800, something like this. So that's about $800.
It's 1 month basically, a little bit more.
Yeah, it's about a month and a half. A month and a half, somebody will stay 4 years. Whereas somebody moves in and he sees that it's a bit dirty, he's not going to take care of it, and it's going to stay much less time.
So then it's double cost, double turnover, right?
So it increases the turnover, and then you're like, you know what? Getting people in, getting people out is. I know people who always try to milk. I'm going to milk an extra 1,000 yen. I'm going to do this, and then if you're the tenant, like that asshole, he screws me again. So next chance I get, I'm moving out.
And how do you, because we are in Japan, we are in Tokyo right now, by the way, we are in Roppongi, right? In the Tokyo American Club, by the way. But Sapporo, where you have the 7 buildings, it's in Sapporo, it's in the north of Japan, it's 1,200 kilometers, more or less. So, of course, you're not going every day and coming back and sleep here, no? So, you delegate everything, right, on a management property company.
Right.
So, how does it work? How much they charge you? How do they work?
So the way it works is the developers that build the buildings, they also manage the property, and it's in their business model. Okay, they make money.
Normally they make like this, yeah.
But cash flow, long term, they make money a little bit month after month.
Some fixed money, yeah.
So it's they want all the properties to be rented out, of course.
Yeah.
So everybody's happy this way because they also know that, I have a building with this company, it's also rented out, I want to have a next one, and I want to have a next one, and he's going to introduce me to some friends and so on and so forth. So this is how we do business in Japan. And so everybody's happy. And they take 5% off the revenue. So it's about, I would say, somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 yen per unit. So this is how, and then every time there's a repair or so they take care of the cleaning, they take care of like changing light bulbs, they take care of boshu, like which
including in that 5%, everything.
Yeah. I mean, they charge invoice us, but the cleaning is also invoiced. But they take care of everything, so making the building clean and so on and so forth, looking for tenants, and also there's one thing that we do that I think is really important. Is this one is really important. Is every tenant has to go through a rent guarantor. So they pay the rent to the rent guarantor. And for us, it's a very simple binary thing. If the tenant cannot pass the audit
the
of
test,
then sorry man, next.
And actually it's a very nice excuse, let's call it like this. Also I do the same in Spain, I say, hey, give me all the documents, you have to ask about the income statement, from the payroll, you need to ask for all the taxes, ID, blah blah blah, and then later you say, hey, it didn't pass, because of the insurance. Even you just check yourself, it's not going to pass, you know what I mean? Basically, normally you need to make like the rent is not passing the 30-35%, of their income.
The good news about this is because we use rent guarantor, when people leave without paying, so first, because they pay through the rent guarantor, these guys after 2 months, they start the procedure.
Yeah.
And it takes up to 1 year. So
Oh,
1,000 yen per tenant per unit, but 1 year of rent loss, and then and because nobody's been there, by law you cannot enter the property, even though the person, we had one property, we bought one building and there was a delinquent tenant. We didn't know about it. We learned after the fact. It lasted for over 1 year because in the meantime they were selling the buildings. Very profitable building, by the way. And so eventually we collected, in the end we collected a year and 2 months worth of rent because we had the guarantor. If we didn't have the guarantor, that is a straight up loss.
Yeah.
So we had 3 people doing this over the years and paying 1,000 yen per unit per. It's a loss. It's an expense worth paying.
Worth paying, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I never had that experience in Japan. In Spain, I did, unfortunately, but in Spain, you can go up to 2 years or 2 years something if the situation gets worse. Because sometimes if you get kids, for example, now with the coronavirus, COVID-19, some people, they started like, I don't have money. Later, hey, because many people couldn't pay, then the government, like super urgent measure, like you cannot kick out people, tenants, even if they don't pay. Then they took advantage, because at the end, many times they take advantage.
Of course.
And if you have kids, the social services are coming and say, no, because you have kids and you cannot, or elder people or something, So at the end, what is going on? You are going up to 2 years something.
Yeah.
It's too much. But of course, if you're having a guarantor in Spain, they cover up to 1 year and a half, 2 years maybe some, but year and a half is the normal.
So in Japan, the law favors the tenant up to a certain point. So what happens, and I shouldn't say that, but sometimes people, they look like they want to pay, I'm going to pay you 10,000 yen, I'm going to pay you 20,000 yen. Dude, the rent is 70! Yeah, but I can't. And then it drags on and drags on. So this is why we use a rent guarantor, because then it becomes their responsibility.
Yeah.
So like 2 months, all right, see your ass in court. And then, so, I mean, it's better to delegate this and
you delegate the risk on somebody else, right? You pass the risk.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I pay for that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's an expense, and it's an expense I'm very happy to pay.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We do the same. How do you do with the taxes here? So through which tax structure are you investing? Are you operating in real estate in Japan?
Okay, so we have a kabushiki gaisha, which is a regular corporation,
Like LTD, no?
LTD, limited liability company, and that's it. So we could do it into personal, which is on my personal account. But if you do it via a corporation, what the banks usually demand is that you become a rentai hoshonin. Rentai hoshonin means guarantor. So if let's say if you can't pay and so on and so forth, they can go after your personal assets. The bankers often say that unless you are like mafia or something like this, they would never do that. They've never seen this happen. So yeah, this is what they demand, and the guy said in his 30 years he's never seen this happen. So very simple structure.
I mean, but at the end, later basically what you do is part of the cash flow you are making with the company, basically is your salary, right? You are kind of the CEO and employee, let's call it like this.
Yes,
no?
yes. And this is very tax efficient because everything is expense. For instance, after this we're going to have lunch, expense. We're in the American club, expense. Take a taxi, expense. So it's very tax efficient. And the other structure is that people use kojin jigyo. Kojin jigyo is like personal corporation.
Yeah.
But it's not as tax efficient because if you have a problem of any kind, then your assets, your personal assets, and the corporation's assets are commingled.
Yeah.
And this can get messy.
I mean, with the limited, that's why limited, no?
Limited liability.
So at the end, if something happens, take that, right? You don't take my personal wealth.
And the value of the buildings will never get to zero. Besides, we've repaid the debt for the last 10 years, so we're already 1/3 out of it. It looks like the risk has already been offloaded.
I mean, it's easier, no? Every day you're making more money. Every day you are farther, no?
I'm going to sleep better thanks to you. Thank you.
No, glad. This is the kind of one of the slogans I have, no, from this brand, from Magnates de Ladrillo. Okay, cool. Laurent, one important thing is, because normally in Spain, for example, and in all the other countries, if you want to buy a house or buy a building, you just make like one house, one company, another house, another company. You have 7 buildings. How do you have like 7 different companies, or you have everything under the same umbrella?
It's everything in the same umbrella. So the idea, for instance, in France, this is called Société Civile Immobilière.
Uh-huh.
How do you say that in Spanish?
It will be like Sociedad Inmobiliaria. Sociedad Inmobiliaria.
So one company per building. Some people do that, but it is tax inefficient because you have to declare the taxes, you have to do all the procedures, all the administration. If you have one, it's fine, but if you have 7 times the number of those, times this, times that, no thanks. But on the other hand, what some people do in Japan is they do one company per bank, because people leverage. So if you leverage, when you start a company to do real estate, the banks will look at your personal balance sheet. They look at, okay, this is how much cash, this is how much cash he generates, this is how many taxes he paid, and so on and so forth. So what happens is, let's say I want to do with my balance sheet, let's say I can do 7 buildings with this bank. Okay, fine, I do 7 buildings, so I do like $15-20 million. Great. Then I max out. Then okay, cool. Then I'm going to the next bank, and I'm going to repeat the same thing. And the buildings are the loans are collateralized with the buildings, not with the individuals. So I know a few people who actually did that, and they were maxed out on this bank, then they maxed out with that bank, and they maxed out with another bank. The problem is that leverage cuts both ways. When it works, they make a ton of money.
Because you can escalate much more in short, right?
Because you can take a lot more debt, which means you also take a lot more risk. But if anything goes wrong with 1 or with 2 or with 3, game over. Game over. Your life is over. You can never repay that in your lifetime. So that's a choice, that's an arbitrage. I like to sleep nice at night. Thank you very much, by the way.
No, within the real estate, you want to be moderate, right? Conservative.
Aggressive, but relatively conservative. Like aggressive.
No, I like that.
Aggressively conservative. So I could have done with another bank, but also you need to be introduced to those banks. For instance, the bank that we go with, we were introduced to them.
And trust, you need to create that trust, right? That commitment. Yeah.
And when they realize, wait a minute, you're banking with another, wait, well, you didn't tell us
You
this.
cheat on us, right?
Exactly. And then it's possible, but they won't be as friendly. So
give me 2 tips how to build up that trust, with the banks. 2 quick tips.
The bank called me this morning. They wanted a document. They called me at 9:35. I sent the document at 10:07. Like, I'm very proactive. I'm 100% transparent. Even my bank, I communicate the bank, and I speak the financial Creole. I used to be in the stock market, so like we speak the same language.
Because you proactively, you are sending all the time, every single month, the closing of every single month that they send to you from the property management companies, you send to them back, no?
For sure.
Like, hey, everything is going okay. No, I'm getting my rents, 95% occupancy.
They say, oh, well, we want a third party. No problem. Then I send them the PDF. Like, okay, we trust you now. So you build.
But they're asking you for that, or you do it because you want?
They ask, and then I also proactively do it. So it's a bit of both. But always proactively, because what happens is the minute they start having doubts, then they won't show you the good deals.
Right?
Because what happens then is very simple. Remember that the bankers here are also employees, and they don't want the problem. They want to. For them, securing a loan is doing business, but they don't want to have a bad loan, delinquent loan, So they want to be promoted. And for them, like, we're extra good VIPs because they ask, we answer. We're always very transparent, always forthcoming. So, and we're very good. We're managing the company well, so we're safe and aggressive. I like it. There's nothing to dislike about that.
Yeah. Keep doing that way. No, then more loans will come.
It works. We
were saying before that there are so many houses, like they are abandoned, destroyed, absolutely not maintenance, no. These are called the Akiyas, right,
Yes.
in Japan. So there are so different official figures, let's say. There are some people, they say there are 8 million Akiyas in Japan, others they say 3 million. Anyways, there are so many houses that they are abandoned, not occupied, nobody cares about them, and they are selling so cheaply. And you actually bought one, and you are checking for more, no?
Yeah.
So tell us, why Akiyas?
Okay, so yeah, somewhere between 3 and 8, maybe 8, maybe 8 could be accurate. I would
Okay.
be on the higher side because they're like complete villages in Japan that are ghost towns.
Yeah,
So it's funny, you drive through and that it's abandoned.
yeah,
A lot of those are poorly maintained. And if you want to buy an Akiya, first thing you go with a carpenter and then run around the property and look at, okay,
it's a carpenter, you said, no?
carpenter, yeah, because a lot of them are wooden houses, and then check for the termites. If there are termites, there's no negotiation. No thanks, we're done. There's nothing there. Second thing is the plumbing. I mean, if there are termites, doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah,
Doesn't
they
matter.
will always
Yeah.
come up, right?
So I mean, it depends. We had termites in the Akiya that I bought, but it was very local, so we sprayed. They're gone. We changed a few things. Another thing that is Akiya is
They can spread very quickly, right?
yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
yeah, they spread very quickly. A lot of those Akiyas is there's like family inheritance, so it's difficult. People don't necessarily want to sell them, especially when you go like either in big towns like Tokyo. There are Akiyas everywhere, even here, even in this neighborhood, which is the priciest in Japan.
800,000, I heard in Tokyo, 800,000.
And we can walk down the street, I can show you 2 or 3 of those. Easy, easy. So they're everywhere. These ones here, a lot of it has to do with the taxes, a lot of it has to do with inheritance.
Lack of agreements, right? Personal
Yeah, family
topics.
family feuds,
Yeah.
like brothers and sisters, they can't get along, they can't be in the same room.
Yeah,
I want to do this now, but I don't want to blah, blah, blah. Okay, done.
done.
And
You know what I heard also? Like Japanese public registration for the housing is very, very bad in Japan.
Yeah, sure.
So what I heard is they are not, basically there are so many years that the house is not registered, they don't know who's the owner. And because they don't know who's the owner, then they are not able to make any deal with them, right? Then that's why they're abandoned.
Oh yeah, I know that for a fact because I went to an island and actually I went to the Kuyakusho, then I went to the Homokyoku, and I was peeling the thing and like, oh, and then they call the old lady, they call the old dude, Mr. Cousin. Forget about it. It's like, who's the person who owns it? Oh, and then it turned out to be a great grandnephew who was living in Tokyo. Like, okay, forget about it. So, and the guy doesn't want to talk about it because he doesn't want to pay the taxes.
That's the other thing. Inheritance taxes here in Japan are top 5 most expensive in the world. I think it can get up to 55% in the worst conditions, right?
That I used to be a CPA, so I can tell you about it. And I have a business partner who works in this. Is because when you're not well prepared, you're going to pay the maximum rate. But if you start to prepare like 10 years or 15 years in advance, then it can actually be cheap. But because people lack preparation, so that I know.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, but you see, at the end, this is one of the consequences of the demographics, in Japan. You are seeing Akiyas, and there will be more and more, no? So I think it's also is a little bit in line with what you said, no? At the end, it's going to be super, super concentrated in Tokyo, right? A little bit more farther. But all the other areas is going to be nothing, right?
So also one thing that is interesting is in Japan there's a big supply of those empty properties, and there's also this big demand from foreigners because Japan has to import foreigners.
Yeah.
So they import labor force from a lot of Southeast Asian countries. These people, they come here for a limited amount of time, then they go back to their country. So it's perfect for Japan. But a lot of them want to buy houses, apartments, and so on and so forth in Japan. But the Japanese banks would not even touch them with a 10-foot pole. So Japanese banks would not lend to these people because they don't have permanent residence. So there's an imbalance between supply and demand. There's demand from these people because they would, like imagine you have a Filipino family, they buy properties in Manila, but it would be much more prestigious to buy in Japan. And if you secure one of those Filipino family, next thing you know, the day after tomorrow, there are 10 of them. Like they go to church on Sunday. Monday morning, you have 10 of them knocking on your door. Hey, where do I sign? What?
I understand.
Sign me up.
I mean,
What?
at the end, if Japan wants to move forward, I believe they will really need to be not that strict anymore with foreigners. They will need to open the doors, right? And in this way, also banks, no? Because at the end, banks, they move forward thanks to interest, no? How they are going to get the interest? From foreigners who are coming as well.
Yeah, but for banks it's a bit more complicated because there's a mismatch between the duration of the liability, the duration of the payment, and the duration of the visa. So that's a problem that cannot be solved easily.
This is what I mean. They make it more flexible. Then people can get visas easier, you know. Then they can join also
But
the
at
gain of the
same
banks.
time, I mean, Japan is one of those countries, and I can openly say to Japanese people, and they always agree, Japan is openly racist country.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not good or bad. It says, oh, you're not Japanese. So like, hey, dude, we're openly racist, and they're not ashamed about it because it's a fact. You're not like you're black, you're white, you're not Japanese. Like I can see that.
Yeah.
And it's not good, it's not bad. It's just a fact of life. But so even the Japanese government is openly racist, and it's a fact. So it's not a condemnation.
No, and
of
they say
Japan.
very proudly, because actually you go for renting a house, and they might call and say, "Hey, the owner, you know, they call the owner, it's a foreigner. Do you want to rent to a foreigner?" And they will say openly, "No." Next, right? It's like this or not?
The place where we rent now, there was a person from the embassy of Congo, a diplomat from the embassy in Congo wanted to rent at the same time that we did, and they said no to him, and they said yes to us, even though I'm a white dude, but I speak Japanese and we rent through my company.
Yeah.
And like, I've been here 28 years, and the guy went, oh, but he does it through his company. We have the Council of Congo versus a Japanese company, and the guy, okay, and it's open, it's out there in the open, and so come back to the point is, I believe that there's a business here between Akiya and foreigners, and this is something that we're trying to actively develop. The idea for us is to match those foreigners, and when you're talking foreigners, we're not talking about expatriates like I'm a lawyer or I work for Baker McKinsey.
Blah, 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 yeah.
No, we're talking about immigrants who look just like the guy who pumps your gas, the guy who does your truck driver, and so on and so forth. So we're talking about this kind of labor and Akiyas.
This match. I mean, the match I can see, for example, for some rural, you know, like some outside places, you know, more like in the countryside, like either foreigners or other Japanese who want to experience those rural areas, you know, so kind of Airbnb or something like that.
Well, that I'm a bit more skeptical about the rural Akiyas. I have one, and I'm a bit more skeptical, but I would say probably, okay, this is how real estate works in Japan. When you're on the website, it checks from the station, everything that is more than 20 minutes away and more than 20 years, no Japanese wants to touch it. And you know, when you're a foreigner, I've been for a long time, hey, you're gonna walk another 10, 15 minutes? Great, I'll get in good shape.
Yeah, but Japanese, especially ladies, you know, they are more delicate. Let's call it like this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you're poor, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice.
So even you don't have, you want to save for something else, right?
Exactly. So you want to save money that you can send to the relatives back in the country. So and I think that this is where there's a big match. So connecting those foreigners with those vacant properties, whether it's an apartment, whether it's a house, 20 minutes away from the station and over 20 years, this is where. So, I mean, of course, this is the broad idea, but it gets more specific. And this is something that where actually I think I know how to do it.
Okay, and quickly, you're Akiya because you bought one, you have it in one island. So tell us more about that. How much did you pay for that? How much about the refurbishment and so on?
So it's actually in Shimoda. So Shimoda, all the big cities in the world, like for instance in New York, it's the Hamptons. All the big cities in the world have a sort of beach culture, right?
Okay.
And Tokyo has no beach culture. So you can go to Chiba, but good luck going to Chiba. Otherwise, there's Shimoda.
Okinawa.
Exactly. Coming, like for instance, even Paris, there's Deauville. So every big city has their escape. And in Tokyo, there's a Shimoda. Historically, there's been Shimoda. So it's 2.5 hours away by train. So get on the train, crack a beer, boom, wake up in Shimoda beach. Very nice, very pristine beach. So I bought it for 4.5 million yen.
So like 33,000 euros, something like that.
Something like that. We did the deck for 3 million yen, and now the deck is bigger than this deck. So this is about
bigger than all this backyard, no?
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
see here.
Deck is 66 square meters.
Okay.
So it's beautiful. I mean, you come on the deck, like there's a big wow effect. Like you walk up on the deck and you look at the view, like wow.
And it's nice view there, no?
I mean, this will raise the birth rate of Japan. When you a view like this, like all right, boy, we're having a baby. Come here. Whoa, 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 whoa. So very romantic. And then so the deck was 3.2 million. Then doing the house altogether, the foundation plus the warehouse, 4.5 million. So give or take
11, 12 million total, no?
exactly 12 million.
So it's like 70, 80,000 euro.
And there's a gentrification in the place where we bought it. So now the market prices have risen. So I bought it at literally the bottom. And because it took a lot of work to do it up, I think it's a great job. And I love going there. We love going there. The kids love there.
But you use it just for yourself, or you have it rented for some time, or?
Okay, so that's a good thing. Tourists don't come to Tokyo in July, August. This is absolutely not a place you want to be. So, and we don't want to go to Shimoda in July and August either. So we rent it out for during the season, and because of global warming, the season is extended. So we rent it out in July and August. The rest of the time, off season, we use it. So for instance, we used it last week, and we were in t-shirt on the deck, and that's good. So and the rest of the time is Airbnb.
And how much cash flow you get from the Akiya, for example? Because you
this
paid
one-
12 million, you said?
Yeah, from this one, we get about 1.5, 1.6 per annum. So
So a bit more than 10%.
yeah.
It's kind of 12%, something like this. And also you have the option you can use as well, no? Whenever you want.
That's
So it's kind of a mix.
exactly. So it pays. That's a property that pays for itself.
This is the good thing about the vacation properties, right? Because you can have normally I would say don't buy a house for yourself, just for going holidays in summertime and some other time, Easter and so on. But you can do that. You can also go in other periods, which is not high season, then you use it, and then you rent it when people are willing to pay much more money. And with just 3-4 months a year, you made a whole year.
So yes, but you really need to know. You need to have an attractive product.
Of course.
Because this is
And the area, yeah.
This is attractive area.
Touristic points around.
Exactly, and you need to know what you're doing. Because you're not alone. A lot of people who had the same idea, and people who are less smart than you will cut the prices and they will come and undercut you. So it's not as easy as it seems.
No, of course. Yeah, very good. Two very important questions, Laurent.
Oui.
One is, do you recommend people who are starting in this real estate game? For example, some people when they start, they feel scared, they have so many fears. So would you recommend them to have like a mentor, somebody who is guiding them through the first investment?
Yes, absolutely.
You're having one?
Yes. He's the person who showed me Hokkaido, and now he's doing Shimoda. So the reason I'm investing in Shimoda is also because I found the place, and he said, "Hey, if you don't buy it, I'm buying it." Okay, how much time do I have? You have until the end of the week, dude. It's Sunday. That's what I'm saying.
my God.
Man. But the reason why you need to have a mentor is because
How many units does he have, by the way? He's the mentor, so...
he has about 300...
And not too bad, in Japan?
350, somewhere like this, yeah. 350, somewhere like this, yeah.
No, but you found a good mentor, okay?
Yeah, it's 3 times my size. Three times my size.
Okay, and you were saying the reason why you need to have a mentor?
Because the mistakes are very expensive. You can't make 2 mistakes. And if you want to develop your business, the first one needs to be a success.
Yeah.
And the size of the balance sheet, like the first one I bought, like, wait a minute, this is expensive stuff. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to pay the tuition cost is going to be expensive. So you need a mentor to help you with that. Second thing is not everybody is in your camp. People will want to fleece you. That's their job. That's their job. Like the brokers, there's a guy who's supposed to, first things first, the guy who's supposed to make you rich is called a broker. All right. So obviously there's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Then what else do we have? Yeah, so, and to know, and real estate is something where people think, oh, it's just buildings, but this is really, you can shape it, you can shape the business in a way that you like, that suits you. For instance, for us, I know I'm really good, I'm not really good, I'm decent in small studios, small size, rural.
Up to 40 square meters, so on. Yeah.
I know how to handle it, but I can't do like luxury apartments. So to find a niche that you're good at, or I'm not good at flipping houses. Like people buy real estate, they buy, they do it up, they flip. Buy, do it up, flip. I'm not good at that.
You prefer, well, you said no, aggressively conservative, right? So
yes.
You said,
so I'm much more cash flow and so on and so forth. So some people, they buy and they hold on to it, and then there's a capital appreciation. They go through the ups and downs, and then finally they sell and they make a ton of money.
Actually, flipping house in Japan is so expensive from the tax point of view. I think it's around 36% or something like this.
It's not easy.
If you sell, I think, in less than 5 years, of course you need to sell in less than 5 years, you know, if you want to flip, then it's 36%. It's crazy, yeah? I think in Spain we are up to from 19 to 28, something like this, but here it's 36.
Well, but the thing is, if you're registered, if you make it your business, then you're exempt of that tax. If you do it as an individual, yes, of course.
You can also deduct, but not as much as in the company, right?
Yes, if you're a company whose business is to resell, then it's your business, then you're not subject to the same taxes. So that's a bit different. But then just to get to know this and the ins and outs, you need somebody to, what product do you bring to the market? Because at the end of the day, it's a product. So what product, what services? I want to do real estate.
Oh, there are so many things.
I want to eat food. Like I want to open a restaurant. Yeah, but what kind of cuisine? No, but food. No, I got that the first time.
And where, and low, middle, high cuisine, and which model, buffet, this, that. There's so many things behind. Yeah. In real estate, it's the same. I was counting there are more than 20 or 25 different businesses within the real estate. You know, there are so many different things. So of course, I understand what you mean. Like you need to focus on what you think you can do your best. If you have your mentor, you can reduce mistakes, which can kill you from the beginning, right? Because the first investment, I always say, like, it can either destroy you or it can skyrocket you, right? It can motivate you to go farther.
It makes you a bricks. It's a make or break.
Yeah.
And it's really the first one. My mentor told me the first one, you got to go bigger. Because if you go small and then it'll
slow you down, right?
Exactly, because the bank, let's say the bank is willing to lend you $2 million or $2 million. Then I'm gonna use only 200,000 for the first one, and or 500,000 or like 600,000. Let's say 600,000. Then the next one you can only borrow up to is 1.4. Well, it's all right. The bank is willing to lend me at my level now $2 million. Great, I'm gonna use those $2 million. I'm gonna park $2 million, or I'm going to use 1.5, and then with that I can generate a cash flow. This cash flow will help me to get the next one and the next one and the next one. So different approach, different philosophy. There's no one size fits all. It really depends on the product that you bring to the market, and for that you can read books, you can talk to brokers, you can educate yourself. It's available. But have a mentor, find somebody who's done it. Can help you. And
then action. Okay, and now that you mentioned mentorship, you know, that mentor, how about networking? Why networking is so important, so key in real estate?
All right.
Because I believe you have good contacts in real estate in Japan.
Oh yeah, I know a few people.
Just few.
Japan, unlike other markets, is a place where real estate brokers, they advertise on websites. You can buy buildings like You can buy a car. I just bought a treadmill for 10 euros. My birthday present. 10 euro Rolls Royce of treadmills.
That's true, because a couple of days ago it was your 40th birthday, right?
53.
Ah, okay, something like that.
20, no, 14. I'm turning 14. I'm turning 14. 14. Or 20. I can finally drink wine. Finally. But yeah, so you can buy buildings. You can buy a treadmill. You can buy buildings. But the best deals, they don't come online. By the time they are online, somebody has found them. And for this, you need to go out and shake hands, meet people, know people, blah blah blah. Go talk to. And for instance, my carpenter in Shimoda, like the plumber was trying to. I mean, hey, plumbers, he assumes that I'm stupid, and he's probably right. And but then he started trying to fleece me, like, oh, this is a stupid foreigner. The carpenter looked at it like, oh, you're in for a good one. So we ended up arguing in dialect in Osaka Ben and so on and so forth. And the guy like started yelling, he argued back. And in the end he goes, come on, we're gonna drink sake together. And the carpenter was like, shit, man, you hold your ground with a local dude in dialect. I should bring you for negotiations.
So I was thinking you were like a Baka Gajin, no?
Yeah,
something like this.
So Baka Gajin, like the stupid gringo.
Yeah.
I can fleece his ass. Like, no, my man, no, think again. And then the guy started to like me, like, oh man, I like how you speak. Okay, cool. Come home, we're gonna have sake. We have good stories to tell. So, yeah.
And which kind of connection do you have, maybe with banks or like with investment funds and something?
Investment funds is professional, so I mean professional in my.
And for example, they have like housing because they have been taking, from people who don't pay or something like this, from banks.
I don't have a connection with those real estate REITs. I know personally, as personal friends, I know a lot of REIT managers. I know a few REIT managers. The most successful is an ex-colleague of mine, Murai Chan. But banks, you develop a relationship with banks, you develop relationship with real estate brokers. They need to see you. They need to see you. So you go and have tea every now and then, and this is how it works. You go out and kick the tires, make introductions. The best way to network is, for me, is I introduce people who want to buy real estate. So for instance, I introduce guys who want to buy real estate to the banks. And yes, we got a good deal. Because what happens is when you introduce them and then they make business with somebody else, they're going to keep the good deals for you.
You understand?
Makes
because
sense, right?
you are helping them to make money, basically. Yeah.
You help them make money.
And for free. You are just saying, hey, I have somebody here, but later consider me, right?
Later, when they have a choice between this guy and this guy brought us business, they're going to call. That's it.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
So bring value before you want to get value. Makes sense, right?
This is the way. This is the way. Not only just like trying to get. No, you need to be also a giver. You need to start being a giver.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is how to network with rich people, because rich people people want their money. People want their money, but no. These people are just like you and me. And my belief is when networking with people who are higher than me, I observe them is what makes them tick. What value can I give them? Then I give.
Go to the need, right?
And then sometimes they give back because, hey, this guy hasn't asked for anything. He likes me, doesn't. I have a sort of, you build a relationship. You build a relationship of trust. The people who you want to get their attention, don't, no. Give them. And then it'll come back. And if it doesn't come back, you probably was not the right person you should be quoting in the first place. Makes sense?
But it will happen only once, right? And you learn also from those mistakes. So right now we are on the way to make very soon the 100 properties, the 100 houses. So when is going to be the time? Which are your next projects, Laurent?
So that's good news and bad news. So the good news is, the bad news is, when we started, the banks asked for very little down payment. Now the yields have come down, and the banks ask for 15 to 20. If you're a beginner, it's probably 20. For us, the bank, we have negotiation room, so it would be somewhere between 12 to 16% or whatever. Because we have history with the bank, but still, it's big amount.
Yeah,
So
because we
that's-
are talking about 2 yen, something like this, almost 2
Yeah. For projects of 200 million yen, that's still like you have to cough up like somewhere between 40 to
Yeah, 20 million at once or something, no, 30 million. Yeah.
2 million yen would would have taxes and this and that. They would have to cough up between 40 to 50 million yen.
Mhm.
And the yield has come down, so that's still expensive.
Hmm.
So that's the bad news. The good news is because we already own a ton of these. So for all our properties, I didn't know that. It's completely fortuitous, but we've made money on all our properties. And when I asked the bank, it was
What happened there?
so when I asked the bank, like the other day, like it was about 6 to 8 months ago,
Uh-huh.
when I asked the bank and just like casual, blah blah, every 6 months.
Sí.
And then I asked the guy like, hey, so how many foreigners like me do that, like real estate? And I was expecting, oh yeah, there's this, that, and the other. Like, okay, cool. This guy is really big, and you all about here. And the guy's like, Japanese banker. That's a sad Japanese banker. Okay, I'm gonna make you a happy Japanese banker. Okay. So the guy looks. Then he closes his pen. There's a 30 seconds of silence. I'm like,
Looking at you, staring at you.
did I say something stupid? And then, in 35 years, I've never seen a foreigner with that many buildings with this much loan with banking with us. I was scared. I go, huh?
So he was processing, no?
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And then I realized, wait a minute. Does it mean that I would be one of the, if not the biggest, one of the top 2 or 3 foreigners, retail foreigners? It's not like big funds or whatnot, or companies. As retail, I'm a retail foreigner real estate investor in Japan. I'm maybe number 1, or I'm in top 3. Like, oh shit. I didn't expect that. So that was a big surprise. So long story short, how to get to the 100?
Uh-huh.
For us, it's just a numbers game. So we have the cash at hand, and if we see a nice property, we're probably going to go for second hand. Then pull the trigger, but it's just waiting game. So it's like staying in the loop, getting into mailing list, couple of phone calls here, couple of phone calls there, and probably through via Akiyas as well.
3 more Akiyas.
Yeah. And then we're gonna do Akiya rent with option to sell. So basically, you rent and you have a one-time contract. And at the one time of at the end of the one-time contract, you give us 1 yen that we're gonna give you in the first place, a small box. You give it back, and then this is your property. Thank you.
No, cool.
So this is how I see the future. As far as doing like those big projects that we used to do, because of the down payment, the volume has come down. So far so good. But
So you are slowing down a little bit, but not stopping. This is what you mean, no? Okay. And do you think you will catch up your mentor with those 350?
Or he's in a different league of his own.
No need, no?
And besides, I don't need to. I mean,
this is what I mean. No need.
I did it at the time when it was possible to leverage massively in a record amount of time. So I was not as aggressive as he was.
Laurence,
Yes,
you
sir.
are also a writer. So not only a real estate investor, but you are also a writer. So what do we have in here?
So here we have algorithmic short selling with Python. So actually this book is fairly, you can read the book if you want to learn about the market. This is a book written by a professional in the markets for professionals. Even if you don't program, you can read the book. It's about the stock market, it's about gain expectancy, it's about how to make money in the stock market, and it's very humoristic. So I'm writing a second edition as we speak. I believe that if investing is a process, people always ask, what's your investment process, right? And if you have a process, then this process can be automated. It's like building a car.
Yeah.
It can be automated, and it should be automated. And there's a very strong reason why it should be automated. Humans cannot be trusted. We are emotional creatures. So, the last thing that I want is an emotional surgeon open heart surgery. I don't like blood. Not good. Not good.
They will do much better, right? Because
Yes.
they are much more precise, always on time. They don't have feelings.
You know, algorithms don't have hangovers.
They don't get tired, right? Nothing.
And they don't have big cojones.
Yeah. They
So-
will not make a strike like French.
Exactly. French go on strike. French they fight with their spouse. They get hangover. So, algorithm is simple.
So basically, this is what you're trying to do here. I mean, what you are doing with Python, right?
Yes.
Very
So
good.
I'm doing a second edition, and the second edition it will be different from the first one. Very different. It will be the code will be better. There will be more features about it.
Okay.
So yeah, I like writing algorithms.
Okay. And where can people get it? This book, if they're
Amazon.
interested?
Amazon.com.
Okay. Very good.
So yeah, that's one of the. And you know what? Writing books is the worst good idea I've had in a long time.
Why?
It takes so much effort, so much effort. People don't realize how much effort it takes to write a book. And the payoff is, I mean, this is not like Tony Robbins where you sell millions
Yeah.
of copies. Like, I wanted to compete with J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, but we're not in the same class, apparently.
Apparently. You know, we are the same. No, at the end, the book is something different. No, it's to put your ideas in the book. Some people might read it. You know, some people might like it. Some people might not. At the end, it's also about creating authority.
Yeah.
You know, creating a personal branding. But of course, if you want to become rich, don't write a book unless you are.
Can you sign me yours?
I will do.
Thank
So
you.
right now, when we finish, I will sign for you.
Thank you. Oh no, we should do it on camera.
I need to think about exactly
Okay.
what to write down, but of course, count on that. Count on that.
I have the Mont
You even
Blanc.
have it here. No, count on that. Count on that. And besides writing, we arrived to the end of the meeting, no, to this call. I think too much knowledge. We understood why Japan is still interesting. Let's see for the next 20, 30 years. But for that, you will still have time either to sell, to not sell, to change it to Cambodia, wherever. But the important thing is now we're in Japan, right? We're in Roppongi. You are making that 82 million a year, which is kind of roughly 6.57 million every month, which is pretty good. We are talking about 50,000 euro per month, so it's pretty good. So
That's sales. So the
Cash
free cash
is-
flow.
maybe it's maybe 20,000 euros. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So Laurence,
Merci.
congratulations.
Merci.
Let's meet up when you are 200.
Okay.
Let's go for that.
Oh,
And
yes.
thank you for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.